Good afternoon. I'm Steve Oswald with this News Now update. Des Moines fire investigators say that they're looking into the cause of a fire at this Des Moines apartment complex early this morning. The fire taking the lives of two Des Moines residents, 40-year-old John Emmerich and his 9-year-old daughter Christine. Authorities say they were trapped in the building's first floor as they tried to escape, but they were overcome by smoke. Tonight at 6, further details in this breaking story. Now this.
A new FM radio station combines the best of TV8 and CNN. All News 99.5 FM, KBBM.
We'll see you at 6.
The presidential candidates prepare for their third and final debate. And an explosive allegation against Hawaii Senator Daniel Inouye. This is the CBS Evening News. And this is Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. Well, on this weekend before the last of the presidential debates, the president was at Camp David, Ross Perot was back in prime time, and Bill Clinton was talking law and order. To tell us about all that, Bill Lagatuda is in Perot country, Dallas. Bill Plant is with the Clinton campaign in Michigan. Randall Pinkston is at the White House. Randall, we'll start with you.
Bob, for weeks now, the poll numbers and the projected electoral vote count have given Bush Quayle supporters little to cheer about. But the latest crisis of confidence is caused by none of that, is triggered by the president's own performance.
Pilot program, it ought to be tried.
At the second debate, the president left many of his supporters shaking their heads. When asked to predict when a woman would be elected president, Mr. Bush's attempt to include his popular wife produced an awkward moment.
If Barbara Bush were running this year, she'd be elected. But it's too late.
The president kept looking at his watch. Campaign aides said he was merely concerned that his opponents were getting too much time. But it made him look impatient and disinterested. Meanwhile, top campaign officials are dismissing published reports, quoting sources close to the president, that Mr. Bush has given up. Deputy Campaign Manager Mary Madeline denounced the anonymous sources as the lowest form of life. The president says Madeline remains confident and sure of himself. Some of the crowds Mr. Bush is encountering on the campaign trail aren't making it any easier.
I wish these draft dodgers would shut up so I could finish my speech.
But even members of the president's own party are letting slip doubts that his issues and strategy will yield success. In California, conservative Republican Congressman Vin Weber said, "I'm campaigning for candidates who can win," then quickly added, "I mean who can win California." Vice President Dan Quayle, loyal to the end, is predicting total victory.
He is not a quitter. He is a fighter, and he will continue to fight until the last vote is cast.
The president is spending the weekend at Camp David preparing for the third and final face-off in Michigan. It's obvious he needs to make a strong showing. What is unclear is whether Mr. Bush will go on the attack. Whatever the approach he chooses, the president will continue to press the character issue, press Clinton's policies, and try to convince American voters that electing Clinton president would put the nation at risk. Bob?
Okay, Randall, for the latest on the Democratic challenger, let's go now to Michigan and Bill Plant. Bill.
Well, Bob, all those poll numbers and the conventional wisdom which suggests that the Clintons might as well start right now decorating their White House quarters are regarded as bad luck around here. There are daily warnings from Little Rock to the campaign staff against overconfidence, and the candidate himself can get downright testy about it.
It's way premature. This election, this election a long way from over. 17 days is a lifetime in public life.
True, but things continue coming Clinton's way. Today, he was endorsed by a group which included Sarah Brady, wife of James Brady, who was critically wounded in the 1981 assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan. A lifelong Republican, Sarah Brady has been campaigning for a gun control law, which passed both houses of Congress with bipartisan support.
Why isn't it law? Well, I will tell you, it was blocked in the last days of the 102nd Congress by a president fearful of crossing the special interest gun lobby.
James Brady didn't endorse Clinton, but he did send a friendly message.
Yes, would you tell Governor Clinton that the bear says thumbs up? I applaud him for his stand on the Brady bill.
The widow of a police officer killed in the line of duty held up a picture of her husband with President Bush, taken during the 1988 campaign.
We were so proud of this photo. We truly thought Mr. Bush was on the side of law enforcement officers. How wrong we were. How can he say he's tough on crime and not support this common sense piece of legislation?
Clinton has now gone underground. He'll spend the next couple of days preparing for Monday's final debate. His staff does expect the president to go on the attack Monday night because there'll be no audience to restrain the candidates from mudslinging. But the staff says it doesn't matter if Mr. Bush goes on the attack. Not overconfidence, they're quick to add, just that it hasn't worked yet. Bob?
All right, thank you, Bill. And if that Atlanta Brave named Deion Sanders hadn't already laid claim to the nickname Prime Time, they might try to give it these days to the third candidate in the race, Ross Perot, because that's where he continues to center his campaign. He was there last night. He'll be there again. More on that now. Here's Bill Lagatuda. Bill?
Bob, as we enter the final 2 weeks of this campaign, there are no signs that voters are deserting Bush or Clinton and switching over to Perot, and no sign that Perot is doing anything different or dramatic to try and win them over. In fact, lately, he's been acting a lot less like a candidate and a lot more like a TV producer. His mini-series continued last night.
Well, let's get right to work.
There he was again, flipping through more charts. This time, not just what's wrong with the economy, but how Perot will fix it.
We got to cut general spending by $315 billion, business tax increases of $49 billion.
It's the first time Perot has spelled out on TV how painful his plan is. The cap on mortgage deductions, the increased taxes on Social Security benefits.
Here's one you don't like. Raise the gasoline tax. That brings us $158 billion.
Add in the $315 billion in government cuts, spend $100 billion or so to create jobs, and in Perot's mind at least, it's done. Just one thing.
What makes you think that you're going to be able to get the Democrats and Republicans together any better than these guys?
That question at the last debate sums up what critics think, that Perot can add and has some good ideas, but he's not terribly realistic.
It's this confusion that if you succeed in business, therefore you can succeed in politics, and that is simply not the case.
Today, as usual, Perot remained in seclusion at his home here in Dallas. No personal appearances are scheduled. In fact, he may finish up this campaign entirely on television. Tonight, he's bought another half hour of primetime TV to air a folksy autobiography. Who is Ross Perot? Bob, I think America knows by now.
Okay, Bill. One of the oddest stories of the political season has suddenly become a full-blown front-page political flap in Hawaii. It involves that state's respected senior senator and a female barber who says she was tricked into revealing that 17 years ago, Daniel Inouye, the senior senator, made improper advances toward her. Rita Braver now with that story.
The charges come against one of the most respected members of the U.S. Senate, five-term Democrat Daniel Inouye, a veteran who lost an arm in World War II, the chairman of the Senate's Watergate and Iran-Contra investigations. Now Inouye's hairdresser claims Inouye sexually forced himself on her 17 years ago. Lenore Kwok says she was 22. Her boss asked her to pick up a package from Inouye.
It was he who removed my clothing and proceeded on. By then, in my mind, I realized this was going to happen, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? And I also felt overpowered by him, by the fact that he was Dan Inouye. Everybody knows Dan Inouye.
Kwok says she doesn't consider it rape because she was young, naive, and did not protest. She cut his hair again, but says he kept harassing her.
As I was washing his hair, he just reached up my dress, and it was shocking to me and humiliating and degrading, and I just panicked. And I didn't know what to do. I was very, very scared. But from that moment on, I was so afraid of this man. Because I was so young, too.
Kwok says she tries to avoid Inouye, but sometimes still cuts his hair. And she says he still makes suggestive remarks. Inouye denies any harassment.
20 years ago, it's not an issue as far as I'm concerned.
Even if it were true?
Yes, but it's not true.
He told his fellow Rotarians that Kwok is being exploited by his Senate opponent.
The slime has reached Hawaii. For a long time, we thought that this was just a mainland type of campaigning. But now we find it's here.
In fact, Kwok says she came forward only because she was secretly audio taped by this woman, Umeko Walker, who describes herself as an ardent feminist.
When I heard about this woman, I went and checked into it, and I just feel like it's an important enough issue that other women should be forewarned.
The tape was first broadcast by CBS station KGMB, but then Inouye's Senate opponent, Rick Reed, began using it in commercials.
You know, everything was so fast, and, you know, removing my clothes.
It turns out that Walker once worked for Reed. He claims she acted independently, but defends his use of the tape.
I do not believe that anyone could listen to this woman and then listen to Dan Inouye and not know who was telling the truth.
Lenore Kwok says she was tricked into going public, that Inouye has hurt her, but she forgives him. Inouye is still leading in the Hawaii Senate race, but now voters there must choose between a candidate accused of sexually harassing a woman and another accused of politically using her. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
And still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, what voters in one small Virginia town think of the campaign so far, and batter up in Atlanta. First International World Series is about to begin.
Louise here was saying that she will not freeze her hearty chicken soup in Gladlock zipper bags.
No, I'll only use the bag my mother uses.
Really? Well, let's go live to your parents' house.
Louise, we've switched to Gladlock zipper bags. Their yellow and blue make green seal shows the bag is closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal. If you'd visit more often, you'd know that.
I'll switch to Gladlock, too.
Isn't it nice to see Gladlock bringing families together? When it really counts, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal.
There's a certain itch that's so private, most people will only discuss it with their doctor. Fortunately, you can get Anusol HC1 ointment over the counter with the same prescription strength doctors have prescribed most.
There's something about Anacin you probably don't know. Anacin is such a strong pain reliever, headache sufferers find Anacin more effective than regular strength aspirin against stubborn headache pain. Rediscover Anacin for stubborn headache pain.
You've just poured the milk on your bowl of Kellogg's Crispix when something keeps you from it. Good thing Crispix has a special shape that stands up to milk. So even if you can't get to it right away, Crispix still stays crispy and great tasting.
They're still crispy.
Kellogg's Crispix, the taste that waits for you.
A special U.S. envoy arrived in Hanoi today in an attempt to accelerate MIA talks with Vietnam. Retired General John Vesey said the joint search efforts continue to improve. Nearly 1,700 Americans are now listed as missing in action in Vietnam. The only election that Israelis care as much about as their own is the one for President of the United States. And interest in the November 3rd vote has hit a record high. Bob Simon now with that.
Throw the bums out. That's a loose translation of the Hebrew posters in this Jerusalem rally, but the bums these Jewish settlers refer to are not Israeli politicians, but President Bush and James Baker. Settlers are conservative by most political standards, but if they could vote in the American elections, Bill Clinton would carry the West Bank in a landslide. Many settlers, in fact, can vote. Thousands hold dual Israeli-American citizenship, and for the first time ever, they're organizing a Get Out the Absentee Ballot campaign. In small coffee clutches, they're working against the man who wants Israel to give up occupied territory occupied by them.
We discern in George Bush that he's out to get us.
What you see among Israeli Americans is symptomatic of a larger and paradoxical phenomenon in Israel as a whole. Right-wing Israelis, the settlers and their supporters, are hoping for a Clinton victory, while leftists here, leftists who have no sympathy whatever for Republican family values, are rooting fervently for President Bush.
As an Israeli, I would like a president that would push without any hesitation for Mideast reconciliation.
And Palestinian leaders, supporters of that radical national liberation movement called the PLO, confess that these days their hearts are true blue Republican.
Mr. Bush knows the area, knows the parties, and probably will do more to get this conflict resolved quicker than Mr. Clinton or Perot.
Presidential politics are coloring everything in the region these days. The sale of F-15s to Saudi Arabia, an administration grab for military-industrial votes. The sale of Apaches to Israel, a grasp for Jewish votes. Syrian President Assad's new moderation, a ploy to help President Bush. War and peace in the Middle East and American domestic politics are perceived here as inseparable, which is why this oil-rich region will be burning the midnight oil on November 3rd. Bob Simon, CBS News, Jerusalem.
In Berlin, Willy Brandt was buried today after being eulogized as a peacemaker at a state funeral. The former West German chancellor and West Berlin mayor died last week at 78. But Brandt lived to see his prediction and dream come true, the 1990 reunification of Germany.
It may surprise you to learn who, over 30 years ago, was the first car maker to build cars with seat belts, to make safety glass standard, the first U.S. car maker to offer anti-lock brakes, and who today offers more models with dual airbags than any other manufacturer. That company is Ford Motor Company.
We're committed to making safety innovation an important part of quality.
Ford Motor Company. Quality is job one. It's working.
If you suffer from sinus attacks with awful pain and pressure, try Dristan Sinus. Unlike any of these, which have exactly the same medicine, Dristan Sinus combines the leading decongestant with the modern pain reliever, ibuprofen. It'll relieve severe pressure and ease sinus pain, all without drowsiness. Dristan Sinus with ibuprofen. And to treat your cold symptoms, there's a Dristan product that's right for you. Dristan, the face of relief today.
Know where I am? I'm at one of the finest resorts in the world. I love it because everything is right here. I can relax in the sun, eat marvelous food, enjoy a room with an ocean view. There's fabulous entertainment, friendly service, and it's all included in the price. But what makes this resort really fun is that it takes me to some of the world's other great vacation spots. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
I'm Charles Kuralt. 2 down and 1 to go. A scorecard of the presidential debates this Sunday morning.
Campaign coverage nearly always centers on the cities for obvious reasons. That's where most of the people are and where most of the problems are. But the city dwellers don't have an exclusive anymore on worry about the future, and that is tonight's Washington Notebook. The mood in Mount Jackson. It may be a pretty place, but there too the economy is not a pretty picture.
You either got it or you ain't got it today. If you got a job, you're in fine shape, but if you ain't, you're on welfare, you're up the creek, you know.
Breakfast is the time when the people of Mount Jackson, Virginia get together to talk, and much of the talk at the end of this week was about how bad the economy is. People were clearly uneasy about who can fix things.
My whole attention is on the planet. Bush ain't did anything in years he was there but raise taxes and cut jobs and send them all overseas.
Mr. Bush is very human. He's made lots of mistakes, but we all do. I think he's genuine about his sincerity to change, and I will vote for him.
Mount Jackson is nestled in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, a town of 1,700, a farming community where the largest employer, a cabinet manufacturer, just last week laid off some 50 workers.
We have some people now from here that are laid off, and I'm sure they would like to get back to work and the economy pick up where they have jobs.
In past elections, Mount Jackson has voted Republican. This year may be different.
I really believe that we've been in such hard economic times that now it's time for a change.
Bush already had 4 years. Why does he need another 4? And Clinton, I'm undecided whether he's going to do anything in 4 years.
I truly am undecided, and that's very unusual for me.
Down the road where they're harvesting the apple crop, there was a similar restlessness.
I was born and bred a Democrat all my life, but I've been switching, as they say, and I'm an independent now, and I really haven't made up my mind.
I change sides frequently, but then I live in the South, and we change sides a lot.
So in the last 2 weeks of this election year, the people in Mount Jackson are still making their minds up. They're watching the economy.
I don't want no tax to be raised. Can't we paying enough? I think we're paying enough tax as it is.
They're watching foreign affairs.
There was a war, and Bush thought he was the greatest because he ended it. But he's got to think he's also the one that began it.
And family values does touch a chord here.
Family values. We need it. We don't have it anymore. It's gone.
And down the road at a pumpkin stand, this grandmother of 13 worries about her children's future.
I'm still watching and hoping and praying that they can quit cutting each other down, for one thing, and get on to what we need. We need somebody in there that's going to run the country and let the poor person have a say in what's going on. Little people don't have any say.
A very pretty place, but these days, very familiar words.
I shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches.
Now there's Scalpicin for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. It's clear liquid, not shampoo. With itch medicine, dermatologists chose over these dandruff shampoo formulas.
The itch is gone.
Scalpicin.
I try to ignore my sensitive teeth, but they hurt.
Sensodyne helps stop the pain that can make you stop brushing, could lead even to tooth loss. And now Sensodyne has fluoride.
Fluoride, great.
New Sensodyne helps stop the pain of sensitive teeth.
For dessert, sir?
Raymond, why don't you try the cherry pie?
I don't know.
You sure loved cherry yesterday.
I did? When?
When you were constipated.
What?
I gave him this new Cherry Phillips Milk of Magnesia. It's a whole new experience.
Maureen, put that away.
Try the new Phillips, smooth cherry and new mint. After 100 years, that chalky aftertaste is history.
Wait till you taste it.
Maybe they should put it on the menu.
Ask anyone who's driven a Ford lately. They can tell you safety means more than seatbelts and reinforced steel panels. It can mean anti-lock brakes, child-proof door locks. It means your family's protection. That's why Ford offers more models with dual airbags than any other manufacturer. Have you driven a Ford lately? It's more than just a question. It's an answer.
How have the presidential debates played in your backyard? Governors from 4 critical do-or-die states will face the nation Sunday.
Well, the presidential race and the baseball season are both entering their final innings, and that is the topic of Bruce Morton's commentary tonight.
The top of inning number 5. And he gets a high.
If you look for the meaning of life in baseball, and some of us do, this was a week full of omens. First, the national pastime is now international, thanks to Toronto. If it won't be exactly a World Series, it will be at least a North American Series, and maybe, given all the Dominican players on the Toronto Blue Jays, a kind of North American Caribbean Series. The question is, what does it mean for the presidential election? Democrats studying the Blue Jays could note that they've been losers lately, made the playoffs but never got to the World Series. Failed in 1985 and 1989 and 91. Kind of like the Democrats in 80 and 84 and 88. What the Jays did to change that was to go out and hire some road warriors, pitchers like Jack Morris and David Cohn, proven veterans like Dave Winfield. The Democrats didn't exactly do that. They haven't recruited Roger Ailes or hired Jim Baker, but it is true that Bill Clinton and Al Gore have been saying we're a new kind of Democrat, kind of the way those Toronto newcomers were a new kind of Jay. So is that it? Break out the champagne Democrats and toast success? Not quite. The electoral fat lady hasn't sung yet. The Democrats may still be treated to what Yogi Berra used to call deja vu all over again. Baseball mirrors life, sure, but which game? Perhaps the Democrats should look at Atlanta and ponder the fate of Pittsburgh's ace pitcher Doug Drabeck, who learned with his teammates a hard lesson. It's possible to go into the bottom of the ninth with a 2-run lead and lose. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
Well, little did we know, but neutral Switzerland almost sparked an international incident this week. It apologized today after Swiss troops on maneuver crossed the border by mistake and invaded tiny Liechtenstein. The soldiers set up an observation post in a woman's garage, but she called the police. The police came, asked the soldiers to leave. They excused themselves and departed.
Never seen nothing like it. I mean, Rusty Slade was an ornery sort. Always ate his old bran flakes just for fiber. But one morning, I gave him Kellogg's new complete bran flakes. Weren't the same. More than fiber, they had whole grain wheat. Flakes were new too, crispy, crunchy. Why, that Kellogg's complete bran flakes even had a better nutty taste. It was all so good, made Rusty smile. Almost. New Kellogg's complete bran flakes. Fiber and then some.
This is one way to cut some fat from your family's diet. This is a whole new way. Introducing new Promise Ultra, the spread that's the absolute lowest in fat of any leading brand. That's right. Promise Ultra is the lowest in fat. Plus, it has 65% fewer calories than margarine and a light, delicate taste. So cut some fat from your family's diet a whole new way with Promise Ultra. Get heart smart.
Talking now with Margot, who says that she will not freeze with Gladlock zipper bags.
No, I like my zipper bags.
Well, we sent a remote crew out to your house, Margot, where your husband, Jerry, is about to replace the new throw pillows on your lovely sofa with either your bag full of chili or the Gladlock bag full of chili. Of course, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal, so you know it's closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal.
Use the Gladlock,
Mark, I
Jerry.
can't hear you.
The Gladlock.
There's something wrong. I can't hear what she's saying.
Use the Gladlock.
No way. Be careful. I only hear.
When it really counts, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal.
And the final act of the baseball season is about to unfold. The World Series begins tonight in Atlanta with Tom Glavine starting for the Braves, Jack Morris pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays, the first Canadian team ever to make the Fall Classic. Jim Stewart reports.
The groundskeepers were up early today at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, where the Atlanta Braves hope to top a wondrous ninth-inning two-out rally that put them in the series and still has baseball fans everywhere buzzing.
I just started running. And David Justice getting down the ground and telling me to get down.
And he is safe! Safe at the plate! The Braves go to the World Series!
Neither Toronto nor Atlanta are here by fluke. Both have been the best two teams in baseball this season, no question about it. And now many feel they're the most evenly matched teams in recent series history. Blue Jay hero Roberto Alomar clearly respects the Braves.
A great pitching staff. They have great hitters, they have a lot of power, and they can run. So,
what about the Blue Jays? They're strong. I mean, I watched them a couple games, and I mean, they got everything top to bottom. Solid starters, good relief, and I mean, they've got some serious hitters.
While the players warmed up their bats, outside souvenir salesmen readied for a banner day. Fans came early. Ticket scalpers did their own version of the tomahawk chop. And the Atlanta newspapers sneered at any thought of a foreign team winning the big one, even as a Canadian singer warmed up his vocal cords.
Oh, Canada!
Sports writers, meanwhile, sought desperately for anything new.
What do you attribute your success in the World Series?
We got more runs than they did.
Some players sported new hairdos for incentive.
Whatever it takes to win the World Series, we'll be trying to go out there and do it.
Even the great Sadahara O, Japan's home run king, was on hand.
Strong, quick hand.
But he had no crystal ball either. Who's going to win? Which translated means, that's hard to say. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Atlanta.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 1 begins this evening at 8 Eastern Time. That's our report. I'm Bob Schieffer in New York. See you tomorrow on Face the Nation.
Experience CBS News.
This is CBS.
Coming up next on tonight's TV8 News, an early morning apartment fire kills a Des Moines man and his 9-year-old daughter. We'll talk with the man who discovered that fire.
Your car breaks down on the highway. What do you do? We'll have some tips.
And the party faithful in Des Moines cheer Hillary Clinton will tell you what she had to say.
Cold, that's the weather word from Steve and Jeff with a big smile for Iowa, kind of a big frown for Iowa State.
TV8 News is next.
The machine shed has really great pork. And what am I bid? $5.25, $7.8 sold.
Well, it's football season once again. Time to visit my old friend, Coach Walden. Hey, Coach, how's things going?
Hi, dummy. Long time no see. Things are going great. Watch this.
Wow, can I see more?
Sure, just tune in to Jim Walden Show every Sunday on TV8.
You know, I don't usually watch your show.
I know.
How do you know?
'Cause you're a dummy.
The Jim Walden Show, Sundays at 11 a.m. and 10:30 p.m. only on TV8.
Creative, high-quality television commercials will bring your business alive to prospective customers. And commercials do not have to be expensive to be effective. TV8 does commercial production at surprisingly affordable rates. We do everything from script writing to on-location or studio shooting to complete post-production with advanced computer graphics. TV8 also produces corporate videos at very reasonable prices. Why limit yourself to newspaper advertising? Call TV8 and find out how to put the power of television to work for you.
You're watching today's TV8. And this is News Now. This is TV8 News at 6.
I thought I had everybody out, but I didn't know John was still in the apartment.
An early morning fire in this Des Moines apartment building kills a Des Moines man and his 9-year-old daughter. Tonight, police are looking for this 27-year-old Des Moines man who they believe may be responsible for intentionally setting the deadly fire. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Sarah Jarvis.
And I'm Steve Oswald. The fire started this morning about 2:30 at 1504 High Street in Des Moines. 24 residents of the building did manage to escape, but the man and his daughter were trapped, and they were overcome by the heavy smoke. The two victims are identified as 40-year-old John Emmerich and his 9-year-old daughter, Christine. Christine and her father were believed to have been on the building's 4th floor when the fire started. They managed to escape to the 1st floor when they were overcome by smoke. Now, authorities investigating the deadly fire say it took them just a short time to determine that the fire had suspicious origins. The fire started with a pile of garbage and clothing in the middle of a hallway.
The origin of the fire, there was no ready cause for that fire to begin where it did. There was appeared to be nothing there to set the fire.
Now, a warrant has been issued for 27-year-old Daniel Butler. He is charged with 1 count of first-degree arson and 2 counts of first-degree murder. Butler is described as 6 feet tall, brown hair, and weighing about 150 pounds.
Now, the fire may have taken more lives if not for the quick thinking of one of the apartment building's tenants. Robin Fry and the night watchman battled the blaze to try to get people out. TV8's Martin Augustine and photographer Tom Torpy bring us this report.
I was right up above here, and I could see the smoke. I came down the stairs, and there was a pile of garbage and clothes, like somebody was set out, and the fire was right here.
Robin Fry says there's no doubt in his mind the fire was deliberately set. But before he had time to think about that, he tried to put out the blaze with fire extinguishers and get everybody out.
The fire alarm was going, and I pounded on all the doors, making sure that people were getting up and going out the front exit way.
Walking through the charred remains of the apartments, Fry finds reminders of how devastating the fire was. A melted phone, apartments destroyed.
And I grabbed the fire extinguisher right off this corner here, and we tried to fight the fire, but we couldn't. We didn't make any leeway on it.
Fry says the fire's victims tried to escape down a back stairwell.
We believe they died somewhere right in here, down in there somewhere. Evidently, him and his daughter did get dressed, and they were heading down the stairways on the other side of the building, but yet there was too much smoke built up in there, and they got caught. I thought I had everybody out, but I didn't know John was still in the apartment.
The only thing remaining from the father and daughter is the little girl's teddy bear, a poignant reminder of the tragedy. Fry thinks dispute between people elsewhere in the building led to the fire. Fortunately, an alarm system saved many lives.
We're just fortunate that there wasn't more people hurt in this fire. And I thank God for that.
Martin Augustine, TV8 News.
The Red Cross is helping the tenants who lost their home and belongings. Now, if you'd like to help, you can call the Red Cross at 243-4054.
And on to other news of the day now. A football tailgate party, a place for food, drink, and today some politics, too. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley attending today's tailgate and football game at Simpson College. In addition to enjoying the festivities, Senator Grassley spent some time showing support for President Bush. Grassley says Monday's final debate can help Bush narrow his gap in the polls.
I think it does have the capability of closing. You want to remember that